All right, so this is section 1 Bravo, block 2. I'm Technical Sergeant McCusker. This is class 20036. The objective for 1 Bravo is to identify the basic facts about the controls and indicators of the HF transceiver. The minimum passing score on the exam is a 73%. That's an 11 out of 15. When you guys look at number 1, if you're on table 3-3 in your TO, it should look just like this. It should show this exact picture as well. And even have these 1 through 10 on the front here, and then it goes on the back as well. When we talk about number 1, that's the GPS connector for the radio. It provides a serial connection, data, and control for an external GPS system, such as the plugger, which looks like an old school Game Boy kind of, or the dagger, which is a tiny green GPS device that you'll get to use in block 8. They use it for geocaching and for time of day and things like that. Number 2 is the audio connector. This is the one that people have the most trouble with in our block for labs. It's hard to get the connector onto the actual radio itself. People have a lot of problems with that. It provides a connection for an audio handset, which uses a 6-pin connector. You had a question?
Oh no, sir. I was just gonna say, yeah, we all did have problems with the audio connector.
Yeah. Oh, did you guys do the labs already?
We did the block 1 lab, and I'm pretty sure we worked with a transceiver, and it had an audio connector on it, and it was just like a pain to put it on.
Yeah, they all seem to be like that. I think it's just because some of the equipment might be old. So number 3 is the LCD display. That's the liquid crystal display. It's part of our KDU. That's the front panel of the radio. When you guys go in there tonight, you'll see that. It displays the operational and programming displays as well as the system presets and the channel presets. It's basically like a TI-83 calculator, like the screen on there. It's just like that. Number 4 is your J18 fill. It has a ton of different encryption devices that you can use, and there's probably even more now available than what's on this list when this was written originally. The ones I'm familiar with are the Koi 18, Crazy 10, and Kick 13. The Crazy 10, the Kick 13 are Windows-based systems. It's a tiny handheld-looking device with a Windows-based system that you can load crypto onto and from. The Koi 18 is not quite like that. It's paper tape based, and you will string a piece of paper through it basically until it lights up green and tells you that you filled that specific number on there. I think it's capable of holding up to 8 or 10 different encryptions on it. It's pretty crazy. Note that the Citadel keys, though, however, for in Citadel cover mode, must be loaded via a remote control like a computer or manually from the KDU itself. They're not loaded through the J18 fill port. Number 5 is our J7 antenna. It's a 50 ohm antenna port for either a bayonet needle concealment or a whip antenna. 6 is a ground post. It provides a grounding reference for the AMPOC 150. It's got a ground state kit, and you can ask to see that in class tonight. Sergeant Zamora will show it to you if you guys ask. He's pretty accommodating to show him for all the little stuff you guys want to see. The J6 is our accessory port. It provides a connection for power amplifiers, control signals, external keyline, external power, AMPRC 150 Charlie on off, frequency hopping clock, and a remote control data. It does a mouthful. A blue dot identifies the cable and the radio, so you don't get it confused with that cable you guys were hooking into the audio, which I believe had a red or orange on it. If you note, we'll skip to the back real quick. If you note this J9, it does the exact same thing that J6 does with one minor difference. It's able to upgrade firmware. We're not going to touch that because we're not engineers, and we may break the radio if we upgrade the wrong firmware to it, so that's why we're not going to do that. You can also look at your function switch here. This is what you guys will mess with tonight. You'll put the radio on zeroize mode. You'll pull it out and turn it all the way to the Z, which zeroizes the radio. You'll also have the on-off functions. You'll do that. You'll also do PT mode. You won't do any crypto loading or anything like that, so we're not going to touch CT or CC, so don't worry about those. PT puts the radio in plain text mode. That's the mode you're going to program in tonight when you guys go into class. It'll put it in that fixed mode, and it's unencrypted. CC places the radio in AMPRC 150 Charlie Citadel encryption. Citadel cover mode. This use of mode is controlled by depot level access. You can load encryption from the front panel again or via remote. CT, I didn't go over this real quick, does ciphertext mode. It's the US Type 1 DoD encryption only. We do not share that key. CC mode, we do share that key. LD is what it needs to be in order to actually load your Type 1 crypto. When you hook up those fill devices that we talked about with the J18, you have to actually have the radio in load mode while you're doing that to fill it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It is not how you load CC keys either. RV is receive variable. It allows you to do the OTAR technique with the radio. It's over the air rekeying. Now the keyword in there is rekeying, meaning you have to have a key in the radio already in order to do that. And finally, there's the Z mode, which is zero eyes. Zero eyes simply does exactly what it says right here. You pull the switch out, turn it, puts it in zero. And it zeroizes everything on the radio, wipes the whole radio basically. This is your keypad, just like your 1 through 0 on your keys of your keyboard. Very similar, except we got a couple other functions. 1 can do a call, 2 has a light, 3 will change the various modes on the radio. 4 is for squelch options. We're not going to touch that. 5 has a 0 option. Don't touch that either, the secondary option. 7 is your options screen. 8 is your program. That's what you guys will actually go into when you're going to program during the lab. And then there's also the 0 key right here, which will toggle between your preset screen and your actual frequency that you programmed. 6 and 9 are used for your up and down selections when you're going through your menus, and then there's the left and right keys as well on the bottom here. This is your data port. That program I showed you guys the other night, the CPA program, this is where you'll hook that up. You hook it up to a cable that's special to go from a computer to the radio itself. It's a Harris proprietary cable. It's got this point-to-point protocol or auxiliary radio cable. It's an RS-232 cable. There is an orange dot on it to identify that that's the right connector. This is J9. We just talked about J9. It's for engineering purposes only, so don't really mess with that. J10, J11 are our battery connectors. All the batteries you notice are lithium-ion type batteries. They're all rechargeable batteries. You do not want to mix batteries of a different chemistry, however. They may explode. HF radio programming application. This is similar to the CPA that I showed you guys the other night, but it's not CPA, it's RPA. That's the older program that they used. It does all of the same functions with the other program I showed you the other night, except it's just older, that's all. The Holdup Battery is used to apply a constant voltage to the radio memory circuits, such as the communications plan and encryption key circuits. It'll hold your encryption and your system status and your radio's channels as well while the radio is off. If you zeroize the radio, though, it doesn't keep that stuff in there for you also. Remember that. And last thing we're going to talk about is where the hub is right here. I'll just show you this. Here's the hub. It's a green and white battery. And then what they're noting down here in this little bold statement is when you're replacing the hub battery, you want to ensure that you actually have an external power connected to the radio because you have about 30 seconds to swap this battery out from the time you remove it before the radio completely discharges and loses all of the programming and keys you might have loaded into it. Any questions? I know that was kind of quick.
No, sir.
No, sir, I think I got it.
Pretty straightforward.
Yes, sir.